Good evening. It is Tuesday, January 19th, 6:30 p.m. Kearney Board of Aldermen meeting. Call the meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Shirley, have you had a chance to take roll?
I have taken roll. Everybody is present, and you have a quorum.
We'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda in front of you. Any questions or discussions on the consent agenda this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I do had Alderman Lehman advise me that we had the title to the resolution that needed to be corrected, and for the police chief to be authorized to sign for a replacement of a police reporting software. So the corrected version is in front of you, hopefully.
Thank you. If there are no other corrections or questions, can we entertain a motion to pass the consent agenda with the resolution for the police department updated to the draft in front of us? It appears that was just a copy and paste typo.
I make a motion.
Hold on. Confused with what motion you're wanting. This separate or with it?
No, I'm asking
This one.
the resolution I will sign if approved, replacing the original resolution.
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the amended resolution corrected. I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes. Thank you. A couple of things to discuss this evening under Mayor's remarks. First, I do want to mention that later on in the meeting this evening, we're going to talk about the youth ballot tax question and consider an ordinance for our April election. As noted in several of our last budgets, and most recently in our financial year 2021 budget, the city needs additional revenue to undertake needed stormwater improvements identified all over the course of the past several years, and as well as other much-needed capital improvements. We have not been able to include funding for the Shadowbrook stormwater repairs, the 12-inch street culvert, Regency Park stormwater issues, as well as sanitary sewer relining in the Kearney and Shadowbrook subdivisions. The use tax could generate funding that could be used to fund debt financing or do a pay-as-you-go stormwater project and other capital replacement projects that we have been unable to fund. Even more importantly, municipalities now have until November of 2022 to receive voter approval for the continuation of the collection of the local sales tax for motor vehicles, trailers, boats, and outboard motor purchases from private sellers or out-of-state dealers. Title passage of a use tax will resolve that problem. Municipalities have passed a use tax do not need separate voter approval to continue to collect the local sales tax from the titling of vehicles purchased from out of state. With our changing retail buying habits, more than ever, a use tax can help broaden the city's tax base while creating a level playing field for our local merchants. I recommend the board approve the enclosed proposed ordinance and place the issue before the voters of the city of Kearney this April. This will be the only regular election date in this year. While it could be scheduled for a special election later this year, to me, I feel it makes better sense to present it in April with our regular scheduled municipal and school ballot initiatives. The next item under Mayor's remarks is I want to talk about the right-of-way donations for the I-35 interchange and the Nation Road roundabout projects. When expressing appreciation to citizens that have donated for the right-of-way on the I-35 and 19th Street interchange project, Sean and Brooks O'Neill were not mentioned. They did donate temporary construction easement at the west end of the Nation Road roundabout project as well. Also, last week, the city of Kearney received permanent and temporary right-of-way from CLMM Land LLC who is Keith Doss and Craig Porter, who donated to the Nation Road Roundabout project as well. 2 additional tracks from 2 property owners remain to be secured for us to move forward. Donations of right-of-way, simply right-of-way acquisitions, and basically just speeds up our timetable for the completion of these projects. So once again, I do sincerely appreciate all those individuals and businesses that have donated ground and right-of-way easements for that project. That concludes my mayor's remarks this evening, and we'll go to the administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have enclosed in the agenda packet in 4A a bid tab for North Grove Waterline projects that I brought up at the last meeting. These were bid last February, and Kissick Construction was the low bidder, remains the low bidder, and is willing to keep their bid prices except for a $5,000 material price increase. It is well known that the PVC prices have risen due to a chemical fire in the southern part of the nation, and so we're really pleased that they can hold to that level of an increase for all 3 projects. So we've also further negotiated with them to get the price down even lower by removing the flowable fill and substituting for AB3 gravel fill. And as Donnie will re-emphasize, that is our normal way of backfilling trenches. These streets would, in my opinion, are candidates for a new overlay later on. Possibly not this year, but next year for sure. And we think by that time the compaction will be satisfactory, and we'll have a good product. The engineer did advise that we need to make sure that they do good compaction. I've told this to Mr. Garvey of Kissick Construction. He understands that. We also would allow the job spoil, which is the excess from the trenches and the cut and the asphalt would be wasted on our lagoon property, which has been a fill site for many years with this type of material. It won't cost us too much to add more to it, and if there's any dirt spoil, we need it. So it's not a bad thing for us, and it'll be a handy site for them to waste. By doing that, they can take their $564,000 number down to $551,000. That's factoring in also the $5,000 increase. So we've gotten some savings out of it further. And I have identified in the budget, and a series of budget amendments have been introduced along with this and would be approved with the enclosed resolution. I can explain those budgeting resolutions, but only if you deem it necessary, Mr. Mayor. I would therefore ask the board, and if Donnie would like to come up and reemphasize the value of this work, our confidence in Kissick, that would be good. If you have something to say, Donnie.
I just want to say this. Been a project that's been on the agenda for quite some time. I think we've got a good price. Kissick's been working with us well, and we've identified that we have flow issues down for the new senior center, and I think this will rectify a lot of those problems that are there also. Any questions?
Yes, it will improve fire flows in this whole neighborhood and clear up to James Point, and to we think it will be a dramatic increase. We've got a problem right at Bode Street and is it Bode Street and 33 that the fire that we can't understand why the flow just drops off to nothing. Yes. And the senior center has been asked to tie in to that line and bore under, and that bothers us because if there's no flow there, we're not going to get our expected fire flows in the senior citizen place. So this job will fix all those problems, we believe.
Questions or discussion of the board?
I do have a question for them. When they cut across down here and we do the fill, are we pouring back over it with concrete, or are we just going to let it We just gonna leave it just fill?
What we usually do is let it settle over a year's time, and we usually get compaction. If we rush to
Now-
do any type,
Right.
we're gonna do some compaction, but you're still gonna get some.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing like time, water, and whatever to let the compaction become 100%.
But I must emphasize, the contract provides for them to make the street repair with asphalt. They will come back and do that. So we won't,
Top of it,
pardon?
will be asphalt over the top of it?
Yes,
We've got loose, aggregate there, cars going over, it, all of a sudden now it's digging out, and we're constantly filling a pothole.
by them building this in the springtime, hopefully it's kind of a wet season, and we'll get that kind of traffic and compaction we need. But they, in the contract, includes the, so often with Decker, we would take that on ourselves on a repair basis. But this contract provides for them to make those patching repairs. So they'll have to make sure the compaction is good, so the street repair is good.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the board? There are no other questions from the board. If you could read the proposed resolution by title only, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a contract with Kissick Construction for $551,250.40 to replace the North Grove water main from Washington Street north to Frank Street, Lawrence Street water main from Grove Street Terrace west to Clark Street, and the Major Street water main from Grove Street Terrace west to Clark Street. Those are approximate locations, and we have a map that shows exactly where the work is.
Mr. Mayor, I make a resolution that we pass this resolution to fix our water lines down on Grove Street.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're excited about taking on that job and been disappointed about delaying it. So, thank you very much for that support. Mr. Mayor, we have been working with Mako Engineer on the Oak Ridge Senior Apartments on an alternative of combining their private lift station with the city's senior citizen lift station. That's the lift station that the city maintains right now, has no SCADA. It serves only 3 customers, Iron Mike, Gambino's, and the Senior Center. It has not caused us problems, but we do see that it is kind of a shaky affair that we know in the long run is going to require reinvestment. And we have suggested this to Oak Ridge. We kind of let them into this, saying, hey, why don't you, rather than you build this private thing on your own, join in with this, help us get this replaced, and they've bought into that. And so we're the ones driving this more than they are. And it does not have a generator up there. And so if we can throw them with them, we'll get a generator. We will pay for the SCADA, and that we pay a portion of the generator. The enclosed proposal in 4B does describe those shares. The city's share is recommended by our city engineer. He calculated 16%, I think, usage of the lift station, and get down to an approximate $60,000 number. We think this is an opportunity that we won't have again to be able to partner with somebody, and we'd like to recommend it, I believe.
I think there's advantages for both us and questions or discussion from the board on this request?
Jim, have we ever had a relationship like this with another developer?
We have. In fact, it was the East Side lift station where we partnered with the J.C.'s Kearney Senior Center, who had a private system, and Danny Miller came to us and said, we'd sure like to get this off of a private system onto a public system. We worked with Mako, and that's why we knew that they might be receptive with this. They not only helped us combine, they're taking the sewer from the senior citizens, which offloads a terrible burden, for that particular outfit to try to take care of it. And we also, MACO was able to provide sewer to the West Washington houses that go down the hill that never had sewer before. They helped us sewer those, and all in conjunction with that project. So that was a big deal, although we haven't figured out how to keep the diapers and the we will get this figured out with this other lift station. We're gonna put baskets in and try to catch them.
And those are gonna be chopper pumps and not, they call it, non-clogs, which.
They'll be better than the ones we have at East Side. The ones at East Side, we admittedly have a lot of problems with because they get bound up with articles. The popular thing with these wipes that they flush down, they're not flushable wipes. They call them, I think the manufacturers even call them flushable wipes. It's a nightmare for everyone in the sewer business, and at lift stations particularly.
So, but you've had good success with these
We've had
guys.
we've had a partnership with them on that. It was very successful. They built a beautiful fence around that one. Now on this one, that's one thing that's absent the numbers here. We'll have to build a fence, and I believe that ought to be on the city because they're the ones who are going to tear out our lift station and put it on the senior citizen property, which we hold some sort of an easement on. And so I think we put a chain link fence around it, and that'll probably cost $10,000. So I should tell you the whole cost may be more like $70,000 when we're all said and done. But to us, this is a good deal. And I hate bringing it to you as a last minute kind of a thing, but we've been waiting for numbers, and now they're well into their construction project. And anyway, it's a $150,000 deal. We'd take 60 of it, and we think that's a good deal, and we'd recommend that the board authorize us to follow up with them and do the necessary actions to make it happen.
Are there any other questions or discussions from the board on this request?
If this goes through, is it still a private pump, or is it the city?
It'll be a perpetually, that's why the pumps have been spec'd through our engineer. Our engineer has reviewed all these things, so
It'll be ours.
it'll be ours.
So it'll be ours to maintain?
Yes.
and-
Yes, which in our opinion, that's the way it should be. These private lift stations are just a nightmare to allow to go into the system. That's what we do best is take care of systems like that. So
We've been trying to address all the problems that we've had with our others and try to incorporate as best we can and keep it still feasible to be doing it. That's why we changed pumps. We didn't like to bring it to you this late, but we have been literally working on this pump station since the inception of the whole plan before they ever broke dirt, and we just finally got through where we had something to bring to you.
There are no other questions or discussions. It's a resolution.
I'm asking for a motion of the board to authorize us to proceed with this agreement based on what we've submitted here. I think it can be incorporated into our normal operating budget. I don't think a budget amendment is needed. So
We'd entertain a motion to partner with Oak Ridge Senior Apartments, the lift station cost share proposal in Mako.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Board. It's great. These are both good projects, and we'll make sure that they get done successfully. That concludes my report, Mr. Moore.
All right, we'll move on to public requests and public petitions. We have Dan Hacker with us this evening. Discuss Hacker Acres, the final plat, and for us to consider.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. The 28-acre parcel of land at the southeast corner of 92 Highway and Jesse James Farm Road is being proposed as a single lot commercial development. At their January the 11th meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the Hacker Acres final plat contingent upon meeting all staff comments and adding a note to protect the existing access road on the east side of the property for adjacent property owners. Enclosed is the staff report, the proposed ordinance recommending approval. And David Pavlich, I think, is online, and Alderman Barger can also report if she has comments as the liaison. Is David not on there?
Pavlich, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, yep, I was here. I was just waiting to be prompted. Yeah, it's a one-lot subdivision. Dan Hacker is also, he's online today too. You might have seen him earlier. Approval would allow him to proceed with a building permit for a retail landscape center on that property at the southeast corner. We are working through the issue with access easement and or driveway on that east property line. He's had the surveyor come out to stake that, and we'll address that as part of the final plat as the P&Z had requested.
Alderman Barger, do you have anything to add?
I don't really. I think there was some concern more about the site plan itself than there was about this plat. So we may have more discussion as we move along in this project.
There is an ordinance enclosed in the agenda packet in 5A. I can read by title only if you...
Yes, there's no other questions or
I do have
discussion from the
another
board.
I have a question for Dan Hacker. Dan, are you on there?
Yes, I'm listening. Thank you.
Dan, when you first bought that piece of property, you were talking about splitting that off. Have we decided to just keep it at one piece?
That's what the lady there to me just referenced. There's a site plan that we're working on developing as well as part of a secondary phase. So right now we're just submitting the final plat, the first phase, and then there's going to be some secondary stuff we'll be discussing with P&Z.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from the board, staff, or the applicant? If not, Jim, if you could read the ordinance for the first time by title.
An ordinance approving the final plat of Hacker Acres, a subdivision of Kearney, in Kearney, Missouri, and accepting dedication of right-of-way and easements thereon.
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If you could read second reading by title only, please.
An ordinance approving the final plat of Hacker Acres, a subdivision in Kearney, Missouri, and accepting dedication of right-of-way and easements thereon.
Make a motion to approve on second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pull the board, please.
Alderman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Holt.
Aye.
Alderman Lehman.
Aye.
Alderman Barger.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous, Mr. Mayor.
We have no public hearing this evening. We have no business to discuss, so we'll move on to new business. We have 3 items to discuss this evening.
Mr. Mayor, the appointments for Kearney Westside CID and shops at Kearney CID both need to be taking place. Jerry Spencer's term is up. David Lehman, and we'll be replacing Marie and then Kathy Barger. All 3 need to be appointed to the Kearney Westside CID.
All right, are there any questions or discussions from the board on those appointments?
Are you making those appointments?
Yes, I would recommend that we make those appointments. That would take a motion of the board, correct?
And I make a motion that we approve the appointments for Jerry, Kathy, and David.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Don't be shy about voting for yourself.
I was like, wait a minute there.
Right.
And Mr. Mayor, on item B is shops at Kearney CID. That is a shared responsibility with the developers. The developer, by agreement, has 2 appointees, and Tim Harris is one of those. His term does formally, though, need to be reappointed. And Jerry's term is up. It's recommended that we renew her appointment. And Dr. Matthew Miller needs to replace Dr. Nicely for the unexpired term.
Is he aware of that?
No, but I've told him, yes, when he first came to town, I said, you've got a job. And he knows about that, yeah.
And I was just wondering, that's an easy thing.
That's about all I'm gonna tell him until I send him an agenda packet. He's a good Joe.
The recommended approval of Dr. Miller, Alderman Spencer, and Tim Harris to their respective terms. We entertain a motion for those appointments.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Let's move on to 8C, please.
Mr. Mayor, as you had brought up about the use tax ballot, enclosed in the agenda packet is a proposed ordinance. I would like to scroll down to our, I have a link here that I want to use to, I would like to show you what Platte City told their voters, and they presented their election in June. It was supposed to be for April, but all of the ballots got moved to June. And this is part of their message, and I want you to see that so you can understand just exactly what we're talking about. So I put it on the screen, and I'm hoping that the volume will be good enough. And I've got to find, I may have to back it up here because I've got to find the volume control here. Okay, and I'm going to have to turn.
Safety and parks. To pay for police, streets, and parks, local businesses generate a 2.375% local sales tax. That's how we pay for our services. But did you know that purchases from online, out-of-state vendors do not currently create any local funds to help pay for these things? When you order something online, the delivery trucks still use Platte City streets, and even our police to investigate if packages are stolen. The online store creates no local sales tax for Platte City services, but the online store did collect a 4.225% sales tax for the state of Missouri and a 1.375% sales tax for Platte County. Why? Because the state of Missouri and Platte County have something called a use tax. If Platte City voters approve a local use tax, the city would receive the same 2.375% from the out-of-state vendor that they would get if they purchased the same item from a Platte City business. On June 2nd, Platte City voters will decide if Platte City should have a use tax, so out-of-state vendors would charge the same sales tax as local brick and mortar stores in Platte City. However, there are some exceptions. If an item you purchase is sales tax exempt, you won't pay the use tax. And our local businesses will not pay the use tax on items intended for resale. Keep in mind, you'll never pay the use tax in addition to the sales tax. It will be one or the other, never both, and will always be the same rate as the sales tax. Gladstone, St. Joseph, Liberty, Platte Woods, and Kansas City all have a use tax. So do over 160 other Missouri cities. That simply means that residents pay the same tax rate whether they buy from a local store or an out-of-state vendor. If Platte City approves the use tax, monies will help pay for police, streets, parks, trails, and other services to keep up with the growing costs of maintaining our high quality of city services. Advancements in technology and an ever-changing e-commerce marketplace all require local governments to adapt. Learn more at www.plattecity.org and please vote on June 2nd. And remember to shop local and support your local Platte City businesses.
And let me see if I can, I'll kill it now. I gotta kill it first. I know it'll be out there and it'll go to something else. Okay, I got it killed.
So was, I think board's well aware of use tax, or was that just
Yes, what I want to explain to you all is that, that Platte City put this on the ballot in a COVID environment. They got their message out, and they were successful in June, and they got it passed. And that message, we can get that updated and use a similar kind of, that's available to us. I may have to hire their staff member to tweak it for us, and we need somebody to narrate it. That was Mrs. Stevens, who was the EDC director, or still is the, maybe she's retired.
I think.
Alicia, she's retired, hadn't she? But that was Alicia Stevens who did that. But what we want to advise to you all is that we are recognizing that sales tax is not growing as dramatically as it used to. And that is because there's shopping opportunities elsewhere, and as we get bigger, our growth rate is gonna start slowing down, and we think that it's very important that we have this ability, as many other cities do, and our neighbors around us have that. Excelsior Springs has the use tax. The Lawson has the use. Well, they fixed their vehicle sales tax. I don't think they have the complete package, but Smithville has it, and so Liberty has it. So we think it's important. We know if we don't do anything about our vehicle sales tax, we will lose a substantial portion. That is quite a lot of revenue. I haven't calculated it, but I can get that number from recent sales tax reports of what we would stand to lose as an estimate anyway for that piece of it. But we recommend that you consider this. We think with the proper education that voters will recognize that value. So I've given you my pitch. That, by the way, was a city-sponsored, that was not a vote yes campaign. That was a factually based story. And as you see, it came out positive, but it doesn't, we can do that. Everything about that was a legal message that we can spend tax dollars on educating our voters. So I share that with you.
Other resources from Missouri Municipal.
And I did include this, the ordinance had the wrong dates, because we thought we might be able to get it on the November ballot. We weren't able to do that. So the one in front of you has the correct dates for April the 6th, and also points out that, there was another date that was in there that's been corrected. This should be all correct if you would care to consider it.
Yeah, section. Section 4, yeah. Any questions, discussions from the board on the proposed ordinance?
I think it will be a good thing if we have the voters vote on it. I think it's a good thing, period, for our city. But I do definitely believe that two of the key words you used were proper education. And we do need to educate the voters. We need to package this in a way that not only they understand, but also that is positive, just like Platte City did. That was a very positive message. I do have Liberties here. I looked at quite a few all around, and I have chatted with quite a few people that live in the Liberty area, and they did theirs just a couple years ago and how that went. Liberty also did a great job of educating and packaging it for their citizens. And I think we need to also do something similar.
Any other questions, discussions on the board?
I would just piggyback on what Jerry said and say that another real big advantage for this is to put our local merchants on equal footing with out-of-state vendors. I mean, we want them to shop local, and So that I see as also another really big advantage.
Yeah, well, like, sure.
Mhm.
The only thing I'd kind of piggyback on the other two is I have a friend that's a city councilman in Liberty, and talked to him about this, and he was very adamant that they went to great extent to get the education to the voters out on multiple fronts, not only in writing, but digitally, on Facebook and all the different medias that they could get to. And in his words, he thought that they put it out on so many media platforms that they were worried that they might have overeducated the public. And but when the vote came out, it came out positive for them. So he said that they've realized a lot of revenue from their use tax, and he also said that they've had a lot of local merchants that sell stuff that's also sold on the other platforms digitally that actually came to them and thanked them for the use tax, because it does put everybody on a level playing field, and a lot of the owners felt like it actually gave them a boost, that they could actually compete with the online markets. So they were very happy with it. So
There are no other questions or discussion from the board. If you could propose ordinance by title only, please, for the first reading.
An ordinance of the City of Kearney, Missouri, imposing a use tax for general revenue purposes at the same rate as the total sales tax rate for the privilege of storing, using, or consuming within the city any article of tangible personal property pursuant to the authority granted by and subject to the provisions of sections 144.600 through 144.761 RSMO, providing for the use tax to be repealed, reduced, or raised in the same amount as any city sales tax is repealed, reduced, or raised, and providing for submission of the proposal to the qualified voters of the City of Kearney, the City of Kearney, for their approval at the general election called and to be held in the city on April the 6th, 2021.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Read by title only for the second reading.
An ordinance of the City of Kearney, Missouri, imposing a use tax for general revenue purposes at the same rate as the total sales rate for the privilege of storing, using, or consuming within the city any article or tangible personal property pursuant to the authority granted by and subject to the provisions of section 144.600 through 144.761 RSMO, providing for the use tax to be repealed, reduced, or raised in the same amount as any city sales tax is repealed, reduced, or raised, and providing for submission of the proposal to the qualified voters of the city for their approval at the general election called and to be held in the city on April the 6th, 2021.
make a motion to approve on second reading.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pull the board, please.
Alderman Spencer,
Aye.
Alderman Holt,
Aye.
Alderman Lehman,
Aye.
Alderman Barger.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We'll move on to Alderman discussion. Alderman Spencer?
Yes, first I would like to give a shout out to Donnie. We had a water leak over at the museum outside on the pump, and it had been leaking vigorously, and he was able to repair it for us, so thank you. The Chamber of Commerce shared the new Clay County Living magazine. Take one, pass it around. And Kearney is obviously in there. There's a nice little article. And there is also a wonderful ad for the museum, so I'm pleased to share that with you. And last but not least, with everything that's going on in the world today, and a new start tomorrow, I would like to ask if it is possible that some of the political signs that are still up around town, whether it's Parsons at our intersection, Biden or Trump, so all of them, if some of those can be removed. It has been quite some time since the beginning of November election. And that's all I have to say.
Great, thank you for the report, and I appreciate you passing this along. I've not had a chance to read it yet. Alderman Holt?
I've been getting a lot of, people asking me, and they're getting all excited about the splash pad down there. The park's all kind of tore up, and they see, blue containers down there wrapped in plastic. Oh, what's that all about? What's that gonna be? So I think there's gonna be a real buzz and excitement about this park. I can't wait for it to get going. I know that the general public, you know, just like Jerry said, it's been a rough year and all these things. Just this park itself, I think, is going to lift the spirits of a lot of people in this town, because it's going to be a neat thing that they can bring the kids to. Not even if they don't want to use the water, they're going to have a nice playground, got a place for them to have little picnics and stuff. I think that this really is going to be an uplifting experience with this park when it gets done for our whole community. And you can already tell it when you talk to people. They're always like, well, what do you got down there? And it's not like, oh, what are you tearing up this time? What's this? You know, no, they're all excited because there's a good buzz about what's coming in. So.
Yeah, I've actually had people, what's going on, you not even know what we have planned. I'm like, oh my goodness, how do you not know what's going on at Lions
Yeah,
Park?
but when you tell them, they're all excited.
They are, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You have anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, Alderman Lehman?
Just like Alderman Holt said, I've had lots of people through different methods have asked me what's going on, what happened to Lions Park. It's been decimated, and lately I'm assuming that that's the playground equipment that's there. You know, a lot of people are seeing what's going on, and they're very excited. They're seeing. I had one person ask me, how'd you get that accomplished? And it's like, it's not just one person. It's the entire city that came together to get this to happen. So, good things that have happened. The only other thing I'd say is filing for alderman position is closed, and so we've got our current members that have filed, and so good luck to both of you. It's been a pleasure serving with you, and hopefully get many more times to serve. So,
Alderman Barter?
I don't have anything to add. I think everyone has covered it pretty well tonight.
Great. I will be on 102.7 FM tomorrow for Kearney Live, so I'm going to talk about where we ended on year end for building permits for residential, and where we are in commercial and dollar amounts. Yep. So if you have a chance over your lunch hour and are super bored, feel free to dial in, and we're very fortunate. I love 102.7, and they're doing a phenomenal job covering everything Kearney, and Brian and his crew.
You can text messages in through Facebook, I think, and stump the mayor.
Mike and Jim and everybody, they're just wonderful assets to our community. That being said, with nothing else under Alderman discussion, can we entertain a motion to adjourn this evening?
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn. Everybody have a good evening.
You missed